Well, good morning. Back on the treadmill. You might notice that I start up the treadmill and get it up to speed before I start talking, and I just realized I think it's because I can't do both things at the same time. Even though I'm already got the recording going, seemingly I can't start talking and push a button at the same time and pay attention to the number that's on the screen. So there you go. I slept pretty well last night. I already knew this about myself, but it reinforced to me that I am a person who needs 8 hours of sleep, not 7. I can get away with 7 for a period of time. There was 1 week a month ago that for some reason I kept sleeping 6 hours and feeling great for like a whole week. It was really weird. I was like, I don't know what's happening here, and I wasn't eating or drinking anything different. So who knows? Hormones? Who knows? Anyway, chemicals perhaps in my brain. So the whole point is sleep. I'm an 8-hour sleeper, even if it's broken up. So last night I went to bed I went to bed and fell asleep pretty quickly, which I usually do, at 10:20. And I woke up this morning at 6:20. Now granted, I woke up about 3 times in the middle of the night, but it was for such small periods of time, I don't think it really hurt my sleep. All to say, here I'm banging that same nail again, sleep. Make sure you are optimizing your sleep. And I know, everybody has their own sleep history and their own sleep patterns. Everybody needs a different amount of sleep. But it's so critical, and I really empathize with those people, I guess I should say sympathize with those people who have had a lifelong struggle with sleep, because I would say, obviously I had to have a chemical imbalance to have postpartum depression, but it was sleep, I think, was the thing that really was pushing me over the edge, or the lack of therein. I had a giant baby. He did not sleep a lot. He was always so hungry, so he was waking up. I'm not going to get into postpartum depression, but it was really, 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 really bad. And one day I am going to get into it. But that's not an upper for today. Today I'm talking about sleep and your sleep. Let's get back to you. Just, read sleep articles, get up to date on what things help sleep and what things hurt sleep. And I shouldn't even say up to date, because I think most of the basics are really classics of what we should and shouldn't do. And then if you've done all the right things, just like with every other aspect of your health, if you've done all the quote-unquote right things that should be leading to the positive result, and it's not, that's when it's time to get medical intervention. Go to a doctor. Some people might even end up going to a sleep clinic. For sure, my father had sleep apnea. Even when I lived there, because I remember hearing him in the middle of the night stopping snoring, or stopping breathing, and then snorting himself back awake. And there is no way that that's not detrimental for your quality of life, much less your health. I really don't know much about sleep apnea, but I do know that that there can be some health implications from not breathing. Anyway, so I hope that you had a good night's sleep, and if not, I hope that you prioritize it as a foundation of living a healthier lifestyle, because it truly is part of the fuel that gets you through the day. Now, we're going to talk about weight, which, like I said yesterday, I'm just going to start talking about weight now, because I really hadn't, or food even, because I really haven't, for myself, gotten on that journey again. I've been on that journey many times throughout my life, so I'm quite familiar with it, and I'm just not ready to be there yet. I've got a big project that I'm working on that I really need to get launched, so I medicate with food. Also have a $40,000 bill for my mother's care that is a result of her being in skilled nursing for 2 months, the hospital, then skilled nursing for 2 months, then her regular place, which of course when she went back her needs had adjusted, and they charge based on, which makes sense as a business, how many caregiver hours it takes to provide care for this person. And she's a person that needs she's in a memory care unit already, but she needs 100% care. She's like a child, so a small child who can't take care of themselves. So anyway, a very large bill. Her dwindling long-term savings account that I'm having to call and say, hey, I need another huge chunk of money, it's, so not only am I trying to provide for my family, I'm now looking at how am I going to provide for her costs, which are significant. And when I say significant, about $10,000 a month, and her income from my dad's Social Security and what's the other thing? Oh, my dad was lucky enough to have a retirement package because he worked for the telephone company, which became AT&T, which became Lucent. So at least, there's income from that, which most people wouldn't have either. So, but that's only like $4,400 a month. So we're losing, 56, I'm just rounding everything, but $5,600 a month, she's in the hole, and this is for a person whose quality of life is zero, so it's a ridiculous situation. It creates a lot of stress, and while she was in skilled nursing, because she is like a child who can't provide for any of their own needs, yet is terrified, she was in an individual room. A caregiver can't be with you full time unless you hire an extra person. So I was there all the time, which means I wasn't making money. Just because of the kind of work I was doing at the time, I wasn't able to make money while I wasn't actively working, which is why I've got this big project going that I'm going to launch. So the whole point being, lots of stress. If food is the thing I medicate with, not the worst thing. Obviously, lots of health conditions come from this. That's bothersome to me. Now, let's rephrase that. That's upsetting to me, but I haven't had time to go to the doctor, so I really don't know what they are at this juncture. So at this point, my appearance and how I feel in my body might be bothersome, but the health implications are upsetting to me because I'm sure I've had health detriments from the last 10 years that I will never get back. And that was the one thing that I had always had, under control in my life, not without struggle and not without some, a lot of, as I've mentioned before, beliefs tied to my self-worth. But sometimes you have beliefs that are not good, but keep you on a path of success in a particular part of your life. A lot of people make money because they're trying to prove to one parent or the other that they're good enough, but yet that makes them successful. Does it make them happy? No, not necessarily, but at the very least, they're not struggling for income because they're trying to prove their worth to their parent. Sort of the same thing happened with me with my weight. I've never been on a fat diet. I've never done anything extreme because I honestly think it's just because it's not my personality. But the reason I wasn't overweight, I'm sure, is because in my mind, in my little child mind, I thought, if I am overweight, my mother won't love me, So that kept me I wasn't underweight. I was just 146 for 5'7", so that's pretty normal before I lost, and got in really good shape at 38. But, I just exercised and I ate a commensurate amount of junk food that balanced out the calories I was burning at the gym, and I eat healthy meals because that's sort of how I was brought up. And, that was probably all driven by a negative belief tying self-worth to weight. It's not healthy for sure. That's not, you don't want to have your positive outcomes come from negative beliefs. And you certainly, it's not good for your relationships either when it's based on a belief that is making the love or like or approval of this person who's close to you contingent on you being a certain way or doing a certain thing, obviously that's not positive. But the whole point being, medicating with food came quite naturally to me starting in my teenage years, and mainly because that's when my mom started buying junk. Before that, she really wouldn't buy junk. And I'm not sure what changed then. She probably just gave up, honestly. She started going back to work part-time, and so maybe I don't know what happened, honestly. I'm sure it had something to do with her journey as a person, from a stay-at-home mom who had no power because she made no money. In my household, that's the way it worked. And I don't know, going back to work, making her own money. I think she was sort of having her own revolution then. I mean, she wasn't making a lot of money. She was working in childcare. But I think that she sort of told my dad, hey, which is weird because usually he was the decision maker, but hey, this is going to be my money. You won't give me money to spiff up the house. I'm going to make this money and do it myself. That was essentially, I think, where she was at. So I think perhaps she was going through her own revolution and just decided to stop fighting us about buying junk food. I don't know. And my brother, of course he was. He was the person that could eat the whole house and stay skinny as a rail, which my son's like that too. Anywho, food. All that was about food. So, the interesting part is that because I haven't been paying attention to food, there's no reason to track things. There's no reason. I mean, I've been conscious, as I mentioned yesterday, of what I eat, even when it's something bad. I'm conscious I'm doing it. I'm not in a fog about it. But the interesting thing is that I'm not doing this 1 hour a day walking at the treadmill desk, and I'm not doing the 8 hours of standing a day while I work on my computer or do things around the house, cooking, whatever I'm doing. But I set a goal of 8 hours of standing a day, and I've done that. And I've done these both. I'd say the 8 hours of standing a day has probably been about 2 months, and about 2 weeks perhaps, roughly, maybe 3 weeks now, of walking at the treadmill desk an hour a day. And I got on the scale, and I haven't gained any weight. And I've been eating more junk, for sure, more junk than I had been. So that tells me that my body, this time when I go to actually try to lose weight, might actually lose weight when I take action, which I've had circumstances in the past 10 years where it hasn't, where I've done the right thing and it hasn't, changed my weight. Or it's changed it such a microscopic way that, and like I mentioned yesterday, I gained it back so quickly. I mean, where are you supposed to get the motivation for doing that if you literally can't live even a normal mid-calorie life without gaining a pound a week? Where's the motivation come to lose that? Because if you're going to gain it back immediately, what's the point? I mean, if it's one thing if you sacrificed and you made a healthy eating plan and you did it and you lost weight, and then you can't go back to overeating without gaining weight. That's understandable. That's our human body and biology. But if you can't go back to eating 1,700 calories a day without gaining a pound a week, that's a problem. I mean, that's when I needed to see the doctor. But mom's situation, I mean, it's unlike any other. It's a brain injury. I mean, it's 100%. This person needs you and fills in every nook and cranny that you have open. I mean, I didn't wear earrings. I didn't put on lipstick. I didn't go to a movie. I probably went into all that before on a different day. I mean, everything was stripped out, including my own health and going to the doctor. The other thing is a lot of the things I was experiencing were physically, I believe were all contributable to stress. So a doctor's going to say, well, lower your stress. I wasn't in the position to do that. A lot, I think, were attributable to potential autoimmune disorders. You go to a certain doctor, they're not going to give, it's a journey to get autoimmune disorders diagnosed, much less treated properly. And so, I feel that I need to go to an integrative doctor, which I'm going to do. And that's going to be the right path for me. But the previous doctor I'd been to in the area I'd moved shortly before I had to start going to my mom's town. And so I never established anything in my new area before all of a sudden I had to be gone every other week to another city. And then every week I was back, it was with my kids, and they were, how old were they? 10 and 13. I don't know anymore, honestly. It's been a long time. They were of the ages that they still needed me to be actively involved in every single thing that they did. So I never established any foundation of knowing anything about the area I lived in, including a doctor. I ultimately, during part of this process, did go to one doctor in my area because I feared that I had had a heart attack at my mom's house. And my family, as I might have mentioned, on my dad's side, lots of people have died from heart-related conditions at the age of 60, which is relatively young. So that's one of the reasons I was so sad about the one area of my life, health being the one I had a hold of. Losing that over the last decade, it's hard to lose a thing. You're like, okay, I did all the right things, and now I've lost a lot of, cholesterol. I'm sure I have veins and arteries full of cholesterol. Well, maybe not veins. I don't know if cholesterol builds up in your veins, but nonetheless, as part of getting healthier this year, going to doctors is going to be a huge part for me and diagnosing exactly what's going on in my body. But before that happens, while I'm waiting to get my appointment, because of course if you're a new patient you need to wait a long time before they'll have an opening, I will be changing my eating. And I'm a tracker. I'm make a spreadsheet kind of girl. So I will have a recent history of knowing, obviously I'm in a lot of stress now, but it's not like it was when my mom was still in her home. And so I'll have a recent history that doesn't involve that level of cortisol inducing adrenal fatigue, a lot of other things that could be contributing, so I think I'll just be looking at, my age and how that impacts weight loss. And if I have hypothyroidism, that might show up. And the reason I keep throwing that in there is because when I look at symptoms of hypothyroidism on websites, I have almost every one of them. If there's 12 listed, I'll have 10, so it's not just weight. Anyway, so at some point soon, I'll be launching this project. I'll be changing my eating. I'll be tracking every little element of that, and we'll see what happens. That I have hope that something decent, at least, I don't know, but at least I might be able to see something, because if I've been able to eat the more junk that I've eaten in recent weeks and not have gained weight, that tells me that, hey, maybe my body's, actually going to, with this walking. I think the walking and the standing are what contributed to me not gaining weight. But previously that wouldn't have been the case. When things were really bad, when I was still visiting my mom's house all the time, that would not have been the case. I would have gained weight pretty much, probably would have gained 2 pounds a week, even if I was doing the walking. So anyway, that was so many words just to say the word hope. I have hope that my changes can result in positive outcomes. And the numbers on the spreadsheet are going to tell the story. Then I'm going to go to a doctor and get all sorts of tests to find out what whatever you can test for that is of a concern for me, getting all those tests and get a reality check on what's going on in my body biologically, and we'll go from there. But all that to say, it's human motivation. We need hope. We need hope that something can change when we make a change. I mean, I truly believe in cause and effect in every part of our lives, but there's also a lot of things thrown in there that can impact that cause and effect. Like when I was younger, cause and effect meant if I eat 1,200 calories a day and I exercise to burn, X number of calories a week, I will lose 1.5 pounds a week. And if I eat 1,200 calories a day and I don't exercise, I'll lose a pound a week. That was historically, what my experience was. And I don't think it's amazing. Maybe I've always had a thyroid problem, but the fact that I lost, enough was satisfactory, or maybe that's quite normal. I don't know, but I do know that I've spent hours, I'm sure, mentally adding up and multiplying. Okay, if I do this and that, I can lose this much by this date, and that means I can lose this much by this date. And that's not the path I'm going to take now. However, if it works, if you can say clearly, here's the cause, here's the effect. If I take these steps, I will get this effect. That's very reinforcing. If you had talked to me in my mid-30s, that's what I would have preached, honestly. And I would like to say that I would have left the door open to people having health conditions or age or menopause or whatever that wouldn't make that true for them. And I think by 30s I probably would have. Maybe when I was younger I wouldn't have, though. I would have thought, hey, if you just take the actions, you'll get the result. And as I've learned over the years, that's not necessarily true for people. I remember when my daughter was in elementary school, most kids are just naturally active, right? They're just jumping and running and playing all the time. And I had this woman who was the mother of this little girl my daughter was friends with in school, saying, well, how do you, her daughter was overweight. She was, I would say, chunky, and she's like, well, how do you get your daughter, to stay, not overweight, and I'm like, they're nothing. I mean, I'm feeding her healthy meals. She's eating some sugary stuff, not a lot, but some sugary stuff, and she's just always moving, like literally always moving. And I think it was just genetics for her daughter. I mean, she had a treadmill in her daughter's room, and I don't know how she spoke with her. I don't know. I hope that she wasn't getting super negative messages from her mother. But it was upsetting. I mean, her mom was a nurse, and she was from another country. Like she'd moved here from another country. So I don't know, culturally, I don't know what it was, honestly. I mean, her mom wasn't slim, so she wasn't really looking for her to be like a Barbie. I think she was just worried, honestly, and I'm not sure, and I didn't see what the child was eating, and I didn't see if the child was a mover or whatever, always moving or not. I'm trying to think of what they did when they played together, but anyway, genetics play a role, motivation plays a role, hormones and time of your life play a role. Your surroundings play a role. Like if you have other family members and you have stuff in your house, it adds another level of restraint and a feeling of sacrifice if you're watching other people eat things that you can't eat. Luckily that one's not really bothering me anymore, but life circumstances obviously play a role. If you're an emotional eater, Maybe you have other habits that you're cutting back on. I know I've heard people who drink a lot of alcohol. When they cut back on that, all of a sudden they might be people who never really craved sugar, and then now they're craving sugar because they've cut out the alcohol. Smokers, a lot of times smokers, you're used to always having something in your mouth or something for stress relief or, whatever reason you turn to smoking, and now maybe that turns into food. There's so many factors coming into play, and we each have to look at our own situation and see, what's coming into play, what works for us, what doesn't. And it's just an experiment, and that's why I'm such a proponent of writing down everything and tracking everything, because and making sure that you're doing it accurately. You're not letting it slip. Like if I've done my worked at my standing desk for less than 8 hours, even though that's my goal, I'm not going to fudge the numbers. I'm writing down the truth of what the matter is. I've written down, unfortunately I wasn't getting to the doctor, but I was writing down everything that's happened with my health over the past several years, because it was just confounding to me, and too many things were happening at the same time. Like I was under such extreme amount of stress. I gained 50 pounds. I was entering, the ages of 40 to 50, so going through perimenopause and menopause. And I had endometrial ablation when I was younger. So I don't know. I can't judge monthly where I am in menopause. So I really don't know. I've never had my hormones tested. So too many things were happening at the same time for me to be able to determine which was the cause of, what was going on in my body. All I know is a lot of bad things went on, and many of those were relieved once I moved my mom into assisted living, because while I keep having to get involved again, there are periods of time in between that she's living there. Things are good. She's doing well, like not having any physical health things that they can't treat there. So slowly but surely over the last 2 years, 1.5, I've been able to, build certain aspects of my life back up. Not there yet, but getting there. So if you have already changed your food, I hope that you're tracking things. Let me rephrase that. You don't need to track things if it's working for you. If you can just make decisions on the daily, make a goal of what you want to achieve, make a plan as to how you're going to do it, and you can just look at each day as it comes and attack that day and do what you do, or fall off the wagon but then get back on the next day, and you don't need, and you're having success, then maybe you don't need to track anything. I mean, it takes a lot of time to do things plus track them. Plus, you've got your normal life to live. So if it's working for you, maybe tracking's not that important, honestly. I think tracking comes to play when things aren't working. When you're doing XYZ and you're not getting the result you expected, or that even articles and charts say that you should be getting. Those calculators online say, oh, if you're 5'7" and you weigh this and you want to weigh that and you are exercising this much, you should be able to eat this many calories. And I'm like, nope, not even close to being true. 600 calories off a day, so that's significant. So I think tracking is more important when things aren't working for you. Because then you can start to analyze, okay, why? Where am I not writing everything down? Am I underestimating the number of calories? Do I need to burn more calories a day? Do I need to cut more calories a day? Am I doing the right things that should be leading to a result and it's not, so therefore I need a doctor's intervention to see what the heck's going on? There's a lot of factors that go into this thing. It's not as simple as it was when I was in my 20s, and for a lot of people, like my daughter's friend from elementary school, this is now, 10 years later, we moved away, so I don't know what's going on with her, but I bet that she doesn't have an easy time now, you know. So we've all got different journeys. I also, when I was doing personal training and weight loss coaching, before all this mom stuff happened, I was doing it, just on the side, as a side thing to this other business my then husband and I owned. And I had a client, a woman named Joyce, that I would work out with at 5 a.m. She actually lived in my neighborhood. So I'd walk down to her house, work out with her, well, she would work out. But I also had her filling out food tracking journals and writing down every single thing she ate and the amount she ate. And we were just looking at it, and she was doing the right things, and she was not losing weight. And she was, I want to think about, maybe 100 pounds overweight. Can't remember exactly now. I still have all her charts, so I'll probably look back at that at some point. But and she wasn't losing weight, and she was doing all the right things. And so ultimately, she ended up getting surgery because, if especially at that much overweight, you're still having health implications from that. She was, I think, 63 at the time. And she got surgery. It involved having psychological counseling beforehand for a long period of time to make sure that you're in the right headspace for the surgery. You're getting it done for the right reasons. You are committed to taking the right actions after the surgery, not to gain all that weight back. And it was successful. It worked for her. I moved out of that neighborhood when I got a divorce. And I didn't see her for a while, but I lived close by, and I ended up running into her in a store like a year later. She had kept all the weight off. She looked great. She was happy, so I think the thing is about, tracking things really pays off, because you can see, am I working under a delusion that I'm doing the right things and not getting a result? Or can I look at it on paper, show a doctor, talk with a counselor, and say, hey, this is exactly what I'm doing, and this is the results I'm getting, and we need some intervention here. And that intervention might be, hypothyroid, or it might be thyroid medication, or it might be surgery. And for some people, that's the path to take, because we all are on our own path. Has nothing to do with what everybody else is doing. You need to do what's going to work for you, and each of us is individual. So this has been a super long one. I hope that you are having a good day. I hope that you have a good day ahead, or you're looking back on your day and you're really proud of yourself. If you had a bad day today, it's just one day. It's fine. You will get hopefully a good night's sleep. You'll start fresh tomorrow morning, like the Etch-a-Sketch. Just shake it all, turn it upside down, shake it all out, turn it back, start with a clean slate tomorrow. And that is when I will talk to you next. Bye-bye.